Hi, my name is... What? My name is... Who? My name is...
Wiezy, baby.
How about the bounce right here?
The Toronto Raptors signed Joe Wieskamp to a multi-year contract to shore up their bench shooting and fill their final roster spot. I decided to ask ChatGPT for information on Joe, but the information was outdated and I was deeply disappointed. Then I asked ChatGPT about myself, and to my surprise, it had never heard of me. After crying into a pillow for nearly 4 hours, I decided the only logical thing to do would be to go into a 2-day deep dive to understand who he was, how he fits, and whether or not the Raptors might have found a player that can actually develop in the future. If you're new around here, my name is Robert. This is Pensare Basketball. Grab your coffee. Let's get to it.
This season, this is what I had hoped for, is getting the call up back to the NBA. And so I'm just thankful Toronto has given me an opportunity, and I hope to make the most of it. I'm going to come out ready to shoot. Obviously, that's what I'm here to do. Come out, be aggressive, and just be me.
Joe is 23. He was drafted 41st overall in 2021 by the San Antonio Spurs, 6 picks after Pelicans standout Herb Jones, and in the same draft that netted the Raptors their reigning Rookie of the Year, Scottie Barnes. His time with the Spurs isn't inconsequential in terms of why the Raptors wanted to bring him in. But first, we need to rewind a little bit and see how Joe got here in the first place.
Wieskamp, catch and shoot. Nothing but Toronto. The three ball alive and well.
Joseph Hinman Wieskamp, born in Muscatine, Iowa in 1999 to parents Stephen and Dana, is not your average Raptors prospect. He was born just 3 hours and 40 minutes drive from Carroll, Iowa, the birthplace of Raptors head coach Nick Nurse, and a 4-hour drive from Storm Lake, Iowa, the birthplace of assistant coach Nate Bjorkgren. It's safe to say Joe has been on the Raptors' radar since early high school. Wieskamp played quarterback in middle school and had a talent for baseball. He had a standout high school career at Muscatine, bumping his scoring average from 18.6 points as a freshman to 33.5 points per game and 13.5 rebounds per game as a senior. He was twice named Iowa Gatorade Player of the Year and was named Iowa's Mr. Basketball, a title he shares with former NBA players Raef LaFrentz, Harrison Barnes, Fred Hoiberg, and former best buds Kirk Hinrich and Nick Collison. Iowa basketball has a rich history, and Joe is a really big part of it. A high school scoring record, 50 points over Burlington High, an all-time scoring record for Muscatine, and he is the all-time scoring leader for Iowa Class 4A with 2,376 points. Wieskamp committed to stay close to home as a sophomore in 2015 when he committed to Iowa.
Baseball pass. Just saw his hand.
Joe Wieskamp, the freshman.
Watch the confusion. That's going to count.
He was a lights-out shooter for the Hawkeyes. He shot 42.4% from three as a freshman and 46% as a junior. He is a competent defender, which he does tend to think breaks the mold of what he calls white shooters who can't defend. But make no mistake, his outside shooting is what got him drafted. His game has grown slowly but surely, and he has a great deal more in terms of wingspan and athleticism than you might assume on first glance. He made a living off of movement, shooting, and spacing. Spaced the floor for the more highly touted Keegan Murray, the 4th overall pick to the Kings in the 2022 draft, and a guy who was widely considered as one of the best players in the country, as well as his twin brother Chris Murray, who is expected to be a top 20 pick in the 2023 draft.
Wiezy
Credits a lot of people for getting him here, from 3 brothers, to his parents, to his AAU coach Casey Schmidt, trainers Scott Morrell and Jordan Delp, his high school coach Gary Belger, and of course his best friend and wife Mackenzie. A true story of love in basketball, as Mackenzie Meyer was a standout basketball player herself at Iowa. So why did the Raptors decide Joe Wieskamp was worth a roster spot and a multi-year commitment ahead of players expected to become available over the next 3 weeks? 1. He's known. Familiarity has become a really big focus the last 2 weeks, and implementing a guy who's already had a pair of 10 days with the team is theoretically easier than implementing a total stranger. Wieskamp has already played with Thaddeus Young and Jakob Poeltl in San Antonio last year. There is a theory that he'll fit in a little bit better and have a more comfortable time adjusting to Toronto, given that he already has familiarity with 2 of the players on the roster. And heck, if he's really good, he might even make up for the multiple first-round picks that the Raptors had to move to get those 2 guys in the first place. The second thing is he fits. While he didn't shoot the ball well in San Antonio last year, and it's next to impossible for him to keep shooting the ball as well as he did during his 17 minutes for the Raptors already this year, there's at least hope that he can provide spacing and occasional movement shooting for one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA. Unlike many pure shooters, however, Wieskamp is also an athlete and he has a plus wingspan. At the draft combine, he measured a 42-inch max vertical, which is on par with Scottie Barnes, and his 6'11 wingspan is actually pretty impressive given that he's just 6'6". He's also a phenomenal rebounder for his size, and this really helps the Raptors, who don't usually get a lot of rebounding from the guard position. In terms of weaknesses, it feels like shooting anywhere inside the arc has been a consistent issue. He shot just 68% from the line in his final year at Iowa, albeit he shot 77% over his entire college career. And he struggled last year as well at the line for the Spurs. Can Joe Wieskamp be a steal for the Raptors? Possibly. He has a ton of role player potential. He also has an incredible shot diet, which includes taking nearly twice as many threes as twos, something that should be music to any analytics nerd's ears. The Raptors have had a track record for finding diamonds in the rough, guys like Chris Boucher or Fred VanVleet, but the well has run dry for several years now. If Wieskamp does pop for the team, he has all the tools to be better than a guy like Duncan Robinson or Gabe Vincent because of his physical tools. And if he doesn't pop, well, the Raptors can just not bring him back. Given the deep ties with the Spurs, Nurse and Bjorkgren's ties to Iowa basketball, the familiarity with Thaddeus Young and Jakob Poeltl from his time with the Spurs, it's fair to assume that the Raptors had considerably more intel than most other teams. A couple of days ago, I released a video being extremely critical of the Toronto Raptors front office, specifically Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster, for what I deem to be unacceptable or lackluster moves over the last 4 years since the championship run. I do want to say that I completely support this decision. I understand that there were probably some bigger names on the free agent market, or were guys who were set to hit the free agent market and the buyout market. However, the Raptors were always going to be a bit of a long shot for a lot of those bigger names. Veterans are not exactly jumping over themselves to join forces on a lottery team, and that's kind of the consequence of, I guess, being the last dog to the bowl. The Raptors do need a guy like this to pan out for them eventually. They've taken a lot of swings and a lot of misses. Svi Mykhailiuk and Stanley Johnson and a lot of reclamation projects that haven't quite worked out. Joe is not a reclamation project. However, he is not a perfect player by any means. He is also 23 years old, and I do believe that he's a very hard worker. The more I watched of him, the more I liked him. I'm really rooting for this one, so good luck to Joe and Mackenzie, and welcome to Toronto.
That's the biggest thing for me, was like I wanted to get in front of teams because they weren't able to come to our games this season and watch us in person because of COVID. So just for them to be able to see me in person, you know, see how well I can shoot it, how well I can move, rebound, just different things like that, I think was huge for me throughout this process.
You look at your game, boy, it seems like it translates pretty good to that next level.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to the NBA at the right time. Like, shooting is at a premium. They value guys like me, and especially like after seeing the success that Duncan Robinson has had and guys like Kevin Huerter even in the playoffs. So I think I'm going to the league at the right time, and I have a skill that the league really values.
Thanks for watching this video. If positive Raptor videos are your jam, this channel probably isn't for you. However, I'm really happy to be able to say something positive about something that the Raptors have done this year, because there hasn't been a lot to be overly optimistic about. Please make sure to hit subscribe. Like if you haven't already. Let me know down in the comments whether you think Joe is here to stay or Joe is just passing through town. And if you like thoughtful, insightful basketball content, please make sure to check out one of these videos that are scrolling around my head right now. Peace.